Alright, so we're back at the Henry Roost. Finally, let the boring hunting videos commence. So this video I'm going to talk about two deer calls that I specifically use. If you're not paying attention, or you kind of gotten sidetracked in life with everything that's going on, whether it be political or in your personal life, deer season's around the corner. We're about to start embracing and embarking on adventures that not only create memories, but they'll create experiences of a lifetime. So get ready for that, because I know last year was some of the best hunting that I've ever done, and I shared one particular hunt with my son that was a little weird, but overall was probably a great time that we shared together. So you can make a bunch of memories. It's just up to you. So two things that I'm going to tell you that I know that I use, that specifically that I use, that I know work. I mean, you can go scour the internets or watch hunting channels all you want, and people will try and sell you on everything and anything that they come up with, or they tell you this is the ultimate thing that you have to use in order to harvest an animal. Me, I use a couple of simple things, and these two are ones that I use specifically. The first one is a can. These are tippers, doe bleats. I mean, there's a lot of names for them, but they have a little hole in the back of it. You just hold that, and it makes like a bleat sound for a doe, a fawn, so on and so forth. You can buy them in packs. This is from Primos. This is the original can. I shot a deer a couple years ago using this bleat can, which was pretty cool. So I know this works. Again, I don't know where you're watching your videos from. In my area, these work well, and I use them often. So all you do is tip the can, and you let it go, and hopefully the deer will hear it, come in, be kind of curious. I've done it before just to kind of check out a deer. I had a doe. She was about 30 or 40 yards, but I could see her through the brush, and I'm not shooting through the brush because I was using a bow. So I just tipped the bleat can a couple of times. She heard it, and she came in, and I get a good look whether I was going to shoot that deer or not. I didn't shoot that deer. It's kind of small, and when I shoot a deer, I want it to be worth the effort and the work, if you know what I mean. So she came in, got a look at her, passed on her, and then I shot one of the biggest does that I've ever shot in my life days later. So this, I could tell you, it works. Again, I don't know where you live and what area you live in, but these work. Windy days, not so much, because sound, you gotta have that sound travel, and if you got leaves on the trees, and things are clanking, you got branches and things like that. I like to use this stuff on calm days where there's not a whole lot of wind, and you can really push that sound out there so they can hear it. Sometimes it doesn't work all the time. Sometimes it'll spook deer. All depends on how your deer herd is. Mine, let's just say they fall for it every time. I shot a deer out of my driveway one year using, I think it was called the big can. It's this bigger can like this. Shot a pretty good sized doe out of the mix of deer that came in there one year. So I know this works for a fact. So put that on your list. You don't have to buy Primos either. I think Hunter Specialties makes one. Primos, everybody makes these cans. The next thing is a grunter. Grunters. This is the bone collector grunter and a snort wheeze. So it's basically, it has this little wreath in there, and you just blow in it, and it makes the grunting sound. Just makes a grunting sound. If you've never heard a deer grunt in the wild, it is wild. It's pretty cool. Last year when I shot the 10-pointer that came over the hill, I heard him and knew he was there because all I heard was just quick grunts, quick grunts. Here he comes over the hill, goes to about 13, 14 yards, waiting for him to come back from the taxidermist. So I've grunted at a couple of deer. I've spooked deer with a grunt. I say, I mean, if it's a really mature deer and he's in the mood, it's gonna work. It's gonna let him know that there's another buck in the area, and he's grunting. So, you know, there might be a doe, something of that nature in the area, and he might come and check it out. So there's a lot of different grunts that I've seen, not only personally, but you know, on the internet, where deer can be. They give you a good long strut grunt, or you know, just little pops. You know, just little pops. That's how that one deer I shot last year was. He's just grunting a little bit, but he's chasing a doe. So that might get a buck interested in it. The next little part, this is like a 2-in-1. That's why I bought it, because I don't like to carry a ton of gear out there. You're climbing through the woods, you're climbing up your tree stand, you're doing whatever. You don't want to be clanking and making noise. You want to be quiet. You want to be stealthy. You want to get up in that tree stand, and you just want to be quiet and wait for the action to happen. The snort wheeze is up here on top, if you can see it here. You know, that, if you ever seen a deer do a snort wheeze, that means he's mad. He's mad. You know, get out of my area. You know, stay away from, this is my spot. Stay away from my spot. The snort wheeze. You know, you hear deer do that, you know he's mad. He might even want to fight. I heard a couple years ago, I was sitting up in a tree stand and then making cutting lanes because I couldn't shoot in that direction because it wasn't property I was allowed to hunt. But I watched these 2 bucks hook up, and right before they hooked up, there was the snort wheeze. It was pretty cool to see it in person. You know, again, you can watch a lot of stuff on TV or on the internet, but when you see this stuff happen in real life, it's pretty amazing. They sparred for a little bit. I even gave a little bit of a grunt, I guess instigating stuff, and it kind of separated them a little bit, and then they went back to sparring, just to grunt at them a little bit. One was an 8-point. I would have shot him. You know, he was a good size 8. Come back later in the season. There he comes. He comes up this trail. He ended up busting me. Unfortunately, I was just in I was in my work clothes, pair of blue jeans and a sweatshirt. Wasn't probably the best attire to wear in a tree when he's, you know, 12 yards from you and he figures out what you're doing. So if you didn't know, deer can see certain colors. Blue's one of those colors, and I had blue jeans on. I did shoot a deer, though, in blue jeans and my Fetterman get-up, Carhartt sweatshirt and some blue jeans and my work boots. But I was in a blind when I shot that deer. It's usually in the first little spiel of the video. I shot that deer wearing Carhartt sweatshirt and some blue jeans and my work boots. These tricks of the trade work. Again, you got to look at your deer herd. You got to get to know these deer, know their patterns, who they're associating with. Kind of be like a cop and kind of investigate these deer. That way you have a good chance. You get a good chance. Last year, I tried to shoot the big guy. He walked under my stand when it was not legal shooting light. And I'm going to tell you right now, I would have half body mount that deer if I could actually get a shot. That's the closest I ever got to him. My brother-in-law almost hit him with a truck in my hunting spot because there's a road next to it, and he seen him come through there, and he was impressed with that deer. Never saw him again except for on the camera. He got really shy towards the end of the year, so that's why I ended up shooting the other deer. Never saw that deer again. Hopefully he survived throughout the hunting season, but again, where I hunt, my specific area, there's a lot of hunters in that area. I scoured some pages over there on the old Facebook, just to see people in my area what they're shooting. Never showed up. He never showed up in pictures of deers that were harvested. I seen a couple of deer driving by the spot this year. I'm telling you right now, I have one blurry photo. I think I put it up on the community tab. So if you were if you're a channel member and you join that, you get to see some pictures of deer and some other things that I do out in my personal life, and you can experience that. But I got one blurry picture, and I'm going to tell you right now, the biggest buck that I seen out there this year, and he reminds me of the big guy who's probably, you know, taking corn payments from other people, you know, and his kids are running around doing bad stuff, things like that. But hopefully I actually get an opportunity to shoot him. I'm going to be checking cameras here in the next week or so. This will be the first look at these camera pictures. But these are some of the tools that I say use. Use these tools, get familiar with them, practice. Practice makes perfect, as the old saying goes. But these are pretty foolproof. These aren't, you know, scratching on a turkey call or trying to do a crow call, or, you know, you got the turkey call in your mouth. I can't do that. I have to use the pot and stick. But get good at these calls, and I guarantee you they'll probably help you out wherever you are. Deer are very territorial when the rut comes, and you start tipping that doe call, and you know the rut's on. Somebody ain't found a girlfriend yet, man. Just give them a good old grunt, get them going. One thing I will tell you is it's always good to have your stuff on a lanyard, hanging up. Usually if I see deer, or I'll blind call sometimes. I'm not a big fan of blind calling, because you never know where the deer are if you don't see them. When you see them, you kind of know where they are. One thing I will say is if you are going to do these calls, and you're going to grunt or use a tipper or something like that, make sure when you get the deer's attention, you put this stuff down. Put this stuff down right away, and you get in your good shooting position. Because those deer are going to be coming in, and they're going to be looking. They're going to be looking for everywhere, especially if that buck is pretty ornery and he wants to fight. He's going to be looking everywhere to try and find this deer to spar with him, try and get him out of his area, especially if he's collecting his ladies. You know, that's something you gotta remember. Don't be sitting there holding your grunt, waiting for him or things like that. That's why I don't really like to blind call, because they can sneak up on you. The 8-pointer that I watched and you know, almost tried to get an opportunity of the story that I told, he came from back behind me at one point. So you never know what kind of route these deer are going to go, but you want to be ready. You want to be ready. You don't want to be caught with your pants down, as they say. You want to be ready. You want to be ready to go and, you know, get a good shot on that deer. So that's a little bit of the stuff that I use. It's a little bit of advice I can give you. Again, I am not a professional hunter. I'm not like one of these dudes on a TV show, but I have taken deer with these methods. They do work. Sometimes you got to pick the right time to use them, but for the most part, every time I've used these, I've picked the right time and I've harvested an animal from them. So these are a couple of tricks of the trade that I can kind of give you to make you a better hunter, especially if you're in your infancy of it. It's not totally hard, but this makes it a tad bit easier. Here in the state of Indiana, we're not allowed to bait animals, so I can't sit over a corn pile like I see some people do. I don't quite have a problem with it, but unfortunately the state of Indiana does, and that's a big no-no. So always keep these kinds of things in mind. Look at your rules and regulations. Take these things out into the woods, give them a try, and see how they work for you. So use the tipper that I got here. Again, there's a ton of companies that make it. These are Primos. Hunter Specialty makes a couple. There's tons of people. Black Rack has grunters and things like that. This is Bone Collector. So there's tons of people that make these gadgets and gizmos that you can go out there and try. So that's a little bit of advice for you. I like to thank my old and my new subscribers, just the people that zip through. I greatly do appreciate it. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. That really helps the channel and pushes the algorithms. That way, more people can see this. More people can use these techniques, especially if they're just in their infancy of hunting. And hopefully they come out a little bit more successful. They gain a lot more experience. Then they become a good hunter. Like always, guys, we'll catch you on the next one.